So as we progress on our project, normally we'd work on the second floor, but before we get this far on the first, but since it's new to many of you, we're staying on the first floor a little bit longer, and I suspect that the second floor generally works on top of the first floor. So uh, I I spend time just looking at the plans and saying, well, what's working and what isn't, what's right, what's not right. And I notice these door walls are uh, more likely connected to the brick, which is just a veneer. There's no structural value to the brick. Basically, it has the ability to support its own weight, and that's about it. So what that means is that this door wall needs to be recessed so that it's fastened to the stud wall. And then after that's put in, the walls are put in, the door walls are put in, then the mason comes back and puts in the brick. It's a decorative finish, but it also is a weather-tight finish to keep the elements out of the house, but it's not a structural element. So where this door wall is situated in the wall right now, it's as if it were fastened to the brick, which is not true. So let's take a look at the properties of this door wall. And you can see that the inset is set at 0, and the brick is 4 inches thick. So I'm going to change it to 4 inches, and you'll see what happens here is that the door wall ends up coming back maybe a little bit too far. This is the brick mold, and that's what covers the transition from the brick to the door wall and the siding, or the wall, the sub wall. So that looks like it might be a little bit too much, 4 inches. So let's bring it so that it goes to right here. Wow, 1964. So that would be let's double check that, because that's definitely, yeah. All right, so let's just change it to 3.5 inches and see what we have there. So this really should come back to here. I don't really want to do the math though. So 1/16 of an inch. Now, so what I'm going to do is go back to the beginning. I'm just going to undo till it gets out there. And I want to move this back so that the back of this brick mold is touching the plywood sheathing. So I can just measure that. I'm going to measure from here to the plywood sheathing. And you see it's a weird dimension, so I don't have to do any math. I will just copy that, Control C. That's the distance that I measured. And then I'll click on the door wall and I'll say, that's the inset. Control V and paste it. And that gets it right where I want it to be. So it hides the edge of the brick, this brick mold, and it covers the wall itself too. So it's a finish, and that looks pretty good. Now, what I like about this particular door wall is that it actually cuts out the brick all the way to the face of the brick mold. A lot of windows just cut the wall perfectly straight here. So that's a good thing for whoever made this particular door wall, because that's actually how it's made. The brick and the edge of the wall don't line up. There's a step or an offset there. So now it didn't change the other door walls, because when this was made, it was made as an instance instead of a let's see, what's the word? Type. So the difference is, if it were a type and I clicked on this, I would have been able to edit the type and tell it that the offset or the inset for all of these were that distance that we just determined, and it would have changed all of them. But we did it for an instance. And again, I prefer that because sometimes this door wall might be mounted in a brick wall, and sometimes it might be mounted in a stud wall. So that's actually a better way to do it. So if we click on it right click and say, select all instances visible in view. Then we can change the inset of each one of those globally. And it did change them all, but whoever made this particular family really knows what they're doing. And that's one of the issues that I find with uh, the Revit families from manufacturers is that the manufacturer of a certain product hires a programmer to write and create that family, but that programmer is neither an architect who uses the product or who uses the family or the actual installer who puts that product into a wall. So I like the fact that whoever made these knows what they're doing in terms of how architects use it, but also how the actual construction occurs in the field. So now we want to look at this and say, well, okay, what happens? I went to Revit City and I got some more um, families. I picked a couple dining room chairs, downloaded them and loaded them into the project. And I got some dining room tables and loaded them into the project. And I looked at them and I said, nah, that's not quite what I want. Uh, so let's see, we'll search for table. Let's see what comes up here. So I've got this parametric rectangular table, which was good. And what that means when it's parametric is that I can change the properties. I can make it longer or I can make it wider. So if we pick this one, there's a problem with that. And I'm going to put that in and just show you the problem is that I can change the properties of that. So instead of being 5 foot, whoops, let's make it 12 feet and watch what happens. I made it 12 feet, but it didn't add any more chairs. Let's see if we can add chairs, number of chairs. If it had a number of chairs in here, that would be great. Chair offset to length. I don't know what that means. So let's change it. Let's see if we can change that to, well, I don't even know what it means. So we'll change it to 5. Let's see what happens. Yeah, okay, so that's not helpful. So this would have been, now the person who made this made the table parametric, but they didn't make the chairs array to expand for the table. So we're not going to use that one. Component, well, I picked a couple other tables. Because I have a lot of space here. I want a wide table. So let's do that search again, TABLE for our search criteria. And I don't know, let's see, I don't remember which one was better. Yeah, that's good. See, that's a big table. And then we can put our own chairs in. So that table's all right. And I'm going to put it that way because I decided that it's an odd shaped room, really. I'm going to make a little seating area around here with the big screen TV and then another seating area around the fireplace. So that's a little bit weird layout, but I think it'll work. So let's put some chairs in. Architecture, component. Now we're going to click on that and type chair. Let's see what kind of chairs we have. Certainly don't want an executive chair. That restaurant chair was kind of nice, but I tried it out. I didn't like it enough. But let's see. We'll use these chairs. So I'm going to put one in. I don't know what's the front, what's the back. I think this might be the back, but I don't know for sure. So let's look at it in 3D just to see what we have. Yeah, so I need to rotate that chair. So let's click on it and hit the space bar. That's the orientation that we want. Back to the first floor. I'm using the arrow keys on the keyboard, and we'll just copy these down from here to here to there to there to there. Maybe one more, and a little closer. Again, I'm just nudging them down with the arrow keys, trying to make some space for that last chair. And arrow, using the arrow keys. Now I'm going to use the mirror command. So I'm going to select each one of these and then mirror about it axis. It's going to pick that axis and mirror those chairs about that. So now I have my dining room table and chairs in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that seats 12 people. That's a lot. So, and then, you know, if you're celebrating a holiday and you have a lot of people, and we could really sit everybody there like that. Now let's put some, I think we put that TV over there. Let's pick that TV, say create similar, and let's grab and make it and put it over here. Okay. Now let's look at the properties of that television. It's 80 inches. Cancel out of that. I want to see what other sizes we have. That's the biggest one that they have. But if we edit the type, maybe we can make it wider. So let's duplicate it, and we're going to make it a 100-inch TV. So that means that this width would be 100 inches. And it changed the height of it as well. So there's a relationship between that, so that it, apparently whoever made this family said that that there's a relationship between the height and the width. So that's good. All right. So now I have that big screen on there. It should really be centered on that wall. Let's take this section and we'll drag it over here and flip it and take a look at it. Did I flip it? I didn't flip it. Flip the section, then go to the view. Now we can see that TV. Of course, it's too low, so let's raise it up so that the top of the TV lines up with the top of the door. And then I guess we could center it on that wall, although that wall extends beyond. Maybe we should center it from here. So we'll just put a dimension line from here, try to pick the snap to the midpoint of that TV if it does. Doesn't look like it does. All right. So then what we'll do is we'll put in a reference plane. Let's put one in right here. And then we'll dimension from here to the reference plane to the edge of the wall. And then we'll say make that equal. So now we want the midpoint of that TV. So we'll move it. Let's see if it'll snap to a midpoint. Well, there's a midpoint. That might be the midpoint of the wall, though. I think it is the midpoint of the wall, but let's see. Yeah, there's much more. That's where we want to. Uh-oh. We did something wrong there. This, I'm going to undo that again. We click on this. We say we want it to be equal. Oh, look what it did. That's what it's doing. That's not good. It's making this distance and this distance equal to this distance. So that's not good. All right, so let's just do it by eyesight then for now. All right. Got the TV in there. Don't need these dimensions anymore. That reference plane didn't work. It's what we wanted to do. I guess we could do it this way. Reference plane here, and we'll draw another reference plane here. Oops, not in an angle. Another reference plane. Let's see if this works for us. So we're going to go from here to here to here, and then say equal. Aha, so that did it. Because I was trying to get the reference plane in the midpoint of that area. Okay, and then let's look at the section again. We should be able to see that reference plane, which I think is this one, but I don't know. So back to here, we'll name it. This is the one we're concerned about, TV. Okay, we'll go back to the section, and that wasn't it. That's not it. That's it. That's the reference, TV reference plane. So we'll grab this and move it. We're going to move it from here. It looks like the midpoint. Okay, let's double check. That's the TV reference plane. This distance from here to there should be the same. Oops, put in the third one. Let's change the display to, so we're going to go from the edge of here to the edge of here, and it isn't. So let's see if we click equal, what happens now. It's off by just a little bit. This is that is the TV. And we wanted to align the midpoint of the TV to there. There we go. Okay. So now the television's in a good spot. Maybe we'd raise it up a little bit in real life. I don't know. So now we've got that. Let's put some chairs around there. You have in your component library, you have some sofas. Let's take a look at what we have here. I think it's also downloaded from Revit City, but I think it was made by an Italian architect. I think the language is Italian, so I don't really know what the words are. Scrolling all the way up here. There we go. So take the big one, hit the space bar, put one here, and we'll put another one here, another one here. So now I'm thinking maybe we need to move that TV down anyway, because sitting area like that. Then we can do the same thing, right click, create similar. Let's do the same kind of a U-shaped sitting area around here. And I don't know if we have a coffee table or not, so let's go over to Revit City. We're at Revit City. Let's look for coffee tables. See what we have to choose from. All right, I think this is kind of interesting. Let's download that oval coffee table. Open the file. It's going to tell us that it was made in a different version, so we always have to upgrade the model. And then we'll load it in. And I think we'll, except for the office, I think we got enough furniture in there. This is a slightly different arrangement for the floor plan. All right, that's fine. Let's load that into the project. Put a couple coffee tables in there. Interesting, it says I already have it in their library, so you would have it, you already have it in your library. I didn't realize that I'd selected that one before. Let's see. We'll go to the first floor. And sometimes, remember, the family, when you load it into the project, it attaches to the mouse cursor. Sometimes it doesn't. This time it didn't. So we'll go for that coffee table. Search COFF. Yep, there it is. And then we'll put it right there. Then we'll put another one right there. Move it over just a bit. So that's enough. That's enough of a demonstration to see how to put in the furniture, just to make sure that your room is of an adequate size. So let's take a look at this in a rendering. And that's what it looks like rendered. Now I'm going to take a look at this and say, I really should have set the sun from the other side, because look at it's casting a shadow in these spaces, and it would have been nicer to see this wall and to see this wall. So to change that, when you're rendering, you go view and go to your render button, and we can say, instead of the sun being from the top right, we'll say it's from the top left. And that will mean that the sun is shining down this way. And here it is with the sun setting from the upper left. So you see how it shows better of the, it's not in shadow anymore. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So sometimes it makes sense to pay attention to the angle of the sun when you are actually creating a rendering. So if this wall were important to see, like this wall is and this wall is in this view, then it makes sense to have the view, the sun coming from the top left, because it's going to highlight and not put in shadow for that. So we covered the inset of the door walls. We talked a little bit about instance versus type. We haven't created any families yet, but when we do, you'll know the difference between instance and type. Instance is going to change each one individually. If you change one of the settings, it'll change it only on that object. And type means that if you change the setting, for example, the inset, it would have changed them all.